and welcome to the Gothic Unicorn. Today I'm venturing back into the attic, but I'm not actually venturing into the attic. If you follow me on Facebook, you will know what's going on, but basically I'm trying really hard to not put anything else into the doll's house at the moment because yeah, it's going to have to be moved. The less I have to take out, the better. But I still want to work on it. So I'm going to be working on dressing some of the pieces to go in there. And some of these are ideas I've had for a long time. So let's get on with it. Quite a while ago, I made some boxes for my attic. And I really want to actually do something with them. I am thinking about maybe having a couple in there that are just sealed up, so they just look like they've not been messed with. But since the idea of my attic is that the younger members of the family have got in there and have been rooting through everything looking for interesting things, it makes sense that there'd be boxes empty and some of the contents spread about. One of the things I wanted was a box of magazines. They're those things that do sometimes get put away in attics and then they're found years afterwards, and it's like, what was I thinking? And I've actually spent a really long time looking on the internet looking for printables. Now, I found some free printables from Jennifer's Miniatures, which there are various magazines across various different decades. Now, they're all American. A lot of the stuff that you find online, especially the free stuff, is American. I also looked for anything that I could buy. I've been through Etsy, and I've been searching and I can't find anything that is suitable. I can buy magazines, I can buy modern, up-to-date, right to the minute magazines that I could also go and buy, not quite the same edition, but I could go and buy them off the shelf. That's not what I want. I wanted something that I could print and I could actually do something with myself, and also something a bit older so it looks like things have been put away for a while. So I've printed off some 1940s magazines from Jennifer's Miniatures. They are like Time Life, that kind of thing, and they're a bit more generic than some of the other magazines I could have found. I also found some that were a cut out and use bit that were in some of the British Doll's House magazines, and so I've photocopied those because I don't want to ruin my magazine, and I've cut them out. So that's given me a few more pieces, but I've got quite a big box. Now obviously my box is not going to be all full of magazines. That would be wasteful. But I think first off what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a bit of ink to the box to try and age it a bit, to make it look like it's been hanging around a bit longer. So I'm going to go and find a suitable marker and we'll get aging. I am going to be using a Distress ink marker in Vintage Photo to add a bit of age to my box. The markers aren't available anymore. I just happen to have them, and to have had them for quite some time. And all I want to do is I just want to add some dirty marks to some of the edges. I just don't want it to look brand spanking new. Now you could do this with the ink pads. The ink pads are still available, and these are great inks for some distressing techniques. You could use paint if you wanted though, or anything else. So I'm just going to start off with some of that, and I think I'm going to have that one in, and I think what we'll do is we will add a bit of a stain across there, and maybe if that side's going to have been over there, we will add a bit of a stain over here. Makes you wonder what's been spilt on it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this flap here down, and we'll put some staining on a corner. Because, well, why not? I don't want the box to look that old and tattered, otherwise I would be taking something to the edge to roughen it up. But I think that a little bit of aging like this, I may add some more yet, is going to go a long way. I'm thinking that I'm going to have the box partly. No, it doesn't work, does it? I'm having real problems with this. I know what I want to do, but it's not working. Anyway, because obviously I don't want to waste a load of ink by printing lots and lots of magazines that aren't going to be seen, I need to fill the box up. And I'm going to use paper. I'm just going to use ordinary white copier paper that I'm going to cut down into a size that will fit in the box. And then my printed and cut out magazines that are here, and some that are a bit spookier. Hopefully this is all in shot. Are going to go on top, and I'm going to have some to go on the floor alongside, as if somebody's pulled some out. That's my thought anyway. So I'm going to go and I'm going to cut me some plain paper, and then we'll start putting this together. I have taken part of a sheet of copier paper and I have cut it into rectangles. Now I've gone for a size which is about 3/4 of an inch by just under 1.5 inches, because they will fit really, really nicely inside my box. And I do want a bit of a gap because I want to actually stick some of the magazines down so it looks like they've been put in the sides. So what I'm going to do is I am going to start with a little bit of stacking. I'm not going to do all this on camera, but this is all I'm going to do, is I am going to literally put a little bit of glue onto the pieces of paper and put them in to the box. It's not a very complicated procedure. I don't need them glued down properly. I just need them glued in. So I'm going to carry on and do this. It's going to take me a while, and I reckon that when I'm done I'm going to have a box that's going to be between 1/2 and 2/3 full, which means that then I can start adding in the more interesting bits. I stuck the paper into the box. I actually did this yesterday afternoon. This has been sitting, and what I did is I used my distress marker in antique linen to give the paper a old look, and then I covered it so it wasn't visible anyway. I then started arranging some of the magazines into the box, starting with the ones that I liked least. Makes sense, less chance of seeing them. And I have stacked them a little bit alternately so that they cover most of the paper. Bearing in mind I'm going to have that stuck down like that, I think. I've put some so they look like they're stood up. I will go in with the marker and sort of age the bits. I may put that down yet, I don't know. Maybe not. Got lots more to do, and all that I've been doing is I folded these magazines so that the front is folded over the back. And I haven't actually done them very well, to be fair. I'll try and get that one a bit better. And I am just putting a little tiny bit of glue on the inside just to keep it together, and then I'm putting a bit more on the back, and I'm then stacking them in the box. I want it to sort of look as if once upon a time there were definitely two piles in the box, but that over time and people going through them, it doesn't look quite so good. So I've got all these sort of Time Lifey type ones, and then some movie magazines. I'm not sure that movie magazines were really the sort of thing that would have been popular in the Doll's House family, but you never know. And I'm just going to repeat this until all the magazines are used. As I say, I have put a couple sticking up at the sort of back, for want of a better phrasing. And I'm going to get another one, and let's have a look at these. Which one do I think? We'll have that one. I don't know what's going on, but does that really matter? Not in the least. And again, I'm going to do that. I'm going to pop a little bit of glue on the back, and then I'm going to figure out where I want it in there. So we'll put that there. So yeah. And as you see, hopefully you can see, I've got my series of books at the back, and that's about it for the filling the box with magazines. As long as I've got enough that it looks like there is a variety of editions in the box, I think it's going to work. And if I just stick all of these like this, and then we'll go with, I'm going to put one and go across there. Make it look, again, make it look as if somebody has been breveting in the box. Let's pull things out, put them back wrong. And then just to be awkward, different, etc., this last one I'm going to put the other way around. So that is going to fit sort of over there. And as you can see, you get quite a, hopefully you can see, you get quite a dimensional look. Now this isn't really going to be evident in the Doll's House, but I'll know. And a lot of the details that I put into the Doll's House are for me. They're never going to be for anybody else, because nobody else is going to look close enough to see that I've included things in drawers and such like. So I'm going to hold this here so that hopefully this will stick down, and then we'll get back to looking at the other pieces that I've got, which I'm going to put outside of the box. To add a little finishing touch to the box, I have stuck the one top tab over and bent part of it back so that it looks like a real box might. I have also written magazines on there as if it's been written with a big black marker, but I just used a quite fine black pen, and it does actually say it all under there. Made it fit across the entire thing. So there's my box of magazines. I may still add some more marking, more distressing on the outside, not sure. The pieces I've got to go alongside it, I've got these bits that came from an Halloween edition of Doll's House World magazine, I think it was, and I've got a newspaper called The Daily Curse. Now there were several copies of this on the page, the cutout page that they included, but they're all exactly the same. So what I've done is I've took two of them, and one of them I have folded over, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this as I did the magazines, just a little bit of glue, and then I'm going to stick it over the top of the other one at a bit of an angle so that it comes out, so that you hopefully won't notice that it's actually the same thing. Now, along with this came these copies of something called Ghost Stories. Now, I don't know if these are supposed to be books or magazines, but I've only got a single cover, so I'm just going to assume it's some kind of magazine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them in order of my favourite to least favourite, and I'm going to stick them on top of each other and on top of the paper. I want this to look like these are the bits that were of interest to the younger members of the household, and that they've pulled them out and have been looking through them. Now I can see I've got a bit of white showing there, so I'm just going to go in with my antique linen marker just to disguise that fact. I've actually been around the outside of each of these, and yeah, we'll do it like that. Just age them up. It's not really that I want them to look absolutely ancient, but I don't want really white edges showing through. So there, as you can see, I've got a little pile that's almost flat, but that will sit on the floor in or around the attic. You know, I might even position it so that the box is partly on top of it, like so. Hopefully that's all in shot. I'll move it over a little bit, and there we've got a very simple little arrangement-y sort of thing, something like that. It looks like somebody's been going through the box, I hope. The final magazines I've got are these, which are again from Doll's House World, but these are a edition of Doll's House World magazine, and then some other titles by the same publisher: Teddy Bear Times, Cat World, and Bead and Jewellery. Now these ones, which again I haven't done very well with the folding, have got a coloured back. It's a plain back, but it is at least coloured, so you could use these somewhere where part of the back might be visible. That's a bit better. Now again, all I'm going to do is stick these together. Now I'm not 100% sure that these are magazines that are of interest to my Doll's House inhabitants, but I do think that maybe at some point somebody might have been given them, maybe by a well-meaning friend or acquaintance. Oh, you'd love it. You must take up a hobby. Cat one maybe, you know, witches seem to like cats. But the other ones might just have been, oh, well, I've got these magazines, have them. So I've done that, and what I'm thinking is I'm going to do another sort of pile. Another sort of little arrangement-y thing. And I've got dropsies at the moment. I'm dropping things left, right and centre. So I can pile those. I can maybe put Cat World over the top. Put a bit of glue on there. And then stick them all onto Doll's House World. Yeah, something like that. Again, this is something that I can wedge in somewhere. It hasn't got to be a big feature, it's just a little space filler. And because I want my attic to look quite full, but at the same time I've got to be considered about what I put in there, so it actually makes some kind of sense. This kind of little filler will work quite well. Well, that's what I hope. Following on from the magazines, I decided to do some old newspapers. Now, I used old newspapers in my witch's workroom, and actually this sheet here, some of which has been cut off, was printed at that time. The only sort of suitable papers that I could find were American. It's the New York Times. So what I've done is I've always made sure that the banner that tells you what paper it is not actually visible. Now, what I have done is I got my antique linen ink pad and a sponge, and I coloured in 2 rows of these just to age them. You could age them with tea or coffee, but because this was printed on a inkjet printer, I don't like to use anything too wet with it. So I went with the distress ink because I know it's not going to affect the print. And also this has been printed that long that I'd probably be okay. It's as dry as it's going to be, but again, I'm not going to risk it. But these I will keep because an old newspaper is always useful. So I printed them out. I cut out the coloured papers and I folded them over. And what I've done is I've actually made a little pile, and all that I've done is where there's a raw edge that's really visible at the front, as I define it, I use the marker to just colour the edges so that it doesn't stand out as bright white. And just as I did with the magazines, all I do is I add a little bit of glue to the inside and stick it down. And I can do both of these because they're both going on the pile. And then I fold them. I can fold them frontwards, I can fold them backwards. But what I really want is I want that nice folded edge, because that sort of, to me, screams newspaper. So we're going to do both of these so that the back is sticking out. And when you folded it, again, dab of glue to just keep it in place. It doesn't need to be folded absolutely perfectly. You could roll it if that's how newspapers are delivered in your area. I know they are in some places. And then what I do is I take the bottom of my pile, add a bit of glue and stick on the paper. I generally make it look like the pile is sort of falling towards the back. That's just my preference. You can make it a nice neat pile if that suits your situation. And I tend to change around which side has got the other fold on. It's just my little foible. Now I could at this stage get some embroidery thread, some sewing thread even, and make it look like it's been strung up. I'm not going to, because I want this to look just like a pile that's been pushed under something or up against something. But it gives me a nice pile of old papers that I can then always sit something else on top, maybe a toy, maybe just a random piece of bric-a-brac. I'm not 100% sure yet, but it just makes a good way of providing height within my attic without having to put in another piece of furniture. It just alters things around, you know, keeps things interesting. So that's just a little recap of the old newspapers, which I love. Even if you don't want really old newspapers, using a newspaper or two, even a nice crisp new one, is a great way of filling in some gaps. I am going to leave my little magazine newspaper pieces there. I do have an idea for another sort of ephemera based piece that I want to do for the attic, but that's going to be a bit more involved, so I think I'm going to leave that for its own video. And yeah, just leave you now with this little bit, which just shows you what you can do with some simple printables. There's nothing particularly fancy in this lot. Most of them were free. Those, as I say, came out of magazines that I bought a number of years ago. I think they were from 2018. But it just shows that if you can get hold of some of the old Doll's House magazines, they're great. The other thing you can sometimes get is you can get good magazine front covers if you can get a flyer for subscriptions. You know, where they're trying to get you to take out a magazine subscription. Certainly over here in the UK, you do sometimes get a little flyer that's got lots of little front cover pictures. Those would be great. You could stick those onto some coloured paper and you'd have enough to do a full rack in a store. But this is what I've made with what I could find. And as I say, this is about making the things that will fill in the gaps within my attic. I've got other pieces to finish off and to dress, and you'll get to see more of those really, really soon. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please like, comment and subscribe. It all does my channel good. And maybe even consider ringing the notification bell so that you'll get to know when I upload another video. I upload most weeks, normally on a Friday, but I don't guarantee anything because real life has a habit of getting in the way if you promise something. But that aside, until next time, bye!